In 2017, Tarsier Studios released a game called Little Nightmares, an indie game that took a different approach on horror, one that strayed a bit away from the popular trends at the time. While horror games were dominated by jump scare heavy titles like Five Nights at Freddy's and the intense gore-filled worlds like Outlast, Little Nightmares carved its own path. Instead, it embraced a more atmospheric and psychological horror, similar to games like Inside, which I just covered, you should check that out, or Resident Evil 7, which I will cover, so be on the lookout for that. But the main thing is that Little Nightmares stood out to me because of how it delivers its horror and its story. It doesn't just aim to scare, it unsettles. Through eerie visuals, a grotesque yet mesmerizing world, and all of this centered around the fragile perspective of a child, this creates a little nightmare that feels both surreal and awfully personal. But there's many different aspects that makes this game so interesting. I can list so many things. Well, that's what this video is meant to make you see. The gameplay doesn't rely on just one facet. It relies on many different things. But I think the main thing that we can all agree on is that it makes you feel small, weak, and vulnerable in a world that wants to consume you. Little Nightmare doesn't just play like your average horror game. The mechanics are what makes it truly stand out to me, easily adding layers of unease. First off, you have the stealth-based gameplay, which is a huge part of why this game feels so tense at times. It's not only about shooting your way through your enemies like the latter half of RE7, because you can't. Instead, you're often running away from monsters, hiding under tables, creeping past oppressing figures. And really, you're just kind of hoping that they don't snatch you up, they don't bend their neck out in a weird way and just grab you. I know in my playthrough, they killed me a lot. But point is, you don't have a way to just directly fight them. There's no weapon to grab or a magic wand to wield. You're almost completely defenseless, like a child, which makes the whole experience feel like you're constantly on the edge. Another feature that is really cool to me is the physical interactions with the environment. I love this so much. Literally everything you do, from dragging heavy objects across the floor to pushing a box into a position that's just right, or even throwing that clapping monkey to hit the elevator buttons. Man, that was just all cool stuff. In a game where the world is so vast and strange, and of course dangerous, those small and simple tasks add to the experience. Your character, Sasha 6, yeah, we indeed rep Quake Engineer. Don't get it twisted. Our girl Sasha 6 feels incredibly small in comparison to the massive distorted world that is around her. The scale of it all plays into this feeling of powerlessness, which is what the game really capitalizes off of. But here's the cool thing, as you progress, the game starts to build within you a sense of empowerment. Because sure, you are small and weak, and for the most part helpless, but 6 has two things that the creatures in this game don't have: autonomy and bravery. Now let's get into the world of Little Nightmares. This place is twisted, and it's filled with many stories that are told through silence. Like many great games, its stories unfolded through its environment, character design, and most obviously, its creatures that you encounter. Let's start with Sasha 6, a small, vulnerable girl who is in a world consumed by hunger. She's the only one that has some sort of autonomy, at least that's what it seems like to me. But who is she? Is she a survivor? Is she some sort of symbol? Is she symbolizing something good, something bad? Her journey through the maws looks like it starts as a desperate escape, but as she gets deeper, it becomes more and more complicated. Her motives become unclear, and just like Inside, It's up to you to decide if she's a tragic hero or something else completely different. Then there's the maw itself. A massive, nightmarish... is a ship? I guess you can call it a vessel. Floating in the middle of nowhere. At first it seems like a prison, but the longer I stayed, the more I began to realize that it was like a machine. One purely surrounded by consumption. Every part of it reflects the theme of consumption. From the crazy looking guest that mindlessly feast to the twin chefs, and the entire existence, literally everything, is around preparing something to be eaten. And the monsters? Again, the janitor with them long ass arms, always just a bit out of reach. The twin chefs lumbering around. They made my skin crawl. And then you have her, the lady, the one who seems to be pulling all the strings. Beautiful, terrifying, and absolutely in full control. She seems to be the one that keeps them all running. But why? The game never really tells us. It leaves so much to interpretation, especially when it comes to the lady and Sasha. She starts as what I think to be a victim, running and hiding and barely surviving. But by the end, she's something completely different. Free? Maybe. Changed? Most definitely. And the question is, has she escaped the nightmare? Or has she come a part of it? I think I'll leave it there for now. I'll see you guys in the next video. If you notice something weird with the audio, I switched my laptop again. I'm sorry. I'll see y'all. Peace.